All right, we're here with a different topic. Same squeaky ass chair. This one I need a little bit of help with, to be 100% honest, because I don't really understand the whole concept of it. And if someone could comment below and kind of give me maybe your take on it, then I would have both sides to have a better understanding on how I see this. And what I want to discuss is the border crossing separations, because it doesn't really seem to make entirely a lot of sense to me. So here's my take on the thing. My take is, well, first of all, what's the problem? The problem is that people are coming from other countries, El Salvador or Mexico or wherever, and they're crossing the border. They're getting caught by Border Patrol, and Border Patrol is taking the parents and putting them in one detention facility, and then taking the children and putting them in another detention facility. Okay, so that's the problem. So now everyone's up in arms about, separating, mothers from their babies and fathers from the children and all this other stuff. And it's like got this blown up thing. One side says, oh, it's no big deal. It happens all the time. The other side says, oh, it's the end of the world. We need to do something about it. I listen to both sides. I listen to different radio stations. I listen to different TV channels and different, pundits on both sides of the aisle and all that other stuff. And it seems like they both make a pretty valiant or make a pretty understandable point. The only problem is that somewhere lies the actual truth, or somewhere lies the actual solution to the problem, or what's right and what's wrong. So here's my take on it. If you have a mother, and let's say she's just at her house and she's hanging out and doing whatever she's doing, and the neighbors call because there's, I don't know, drug activity or something crazy in the house. And the police show up to the house, and it's the mother. She's by herself, and the cops find crystal meth in the house or whatever. They take the mother, and let's say they're going to arrest her and they're going to take her to jail or whatever. They take the mother, they put her in handcuffs, they put her in the car, and if there's nobody that they're at the house to give the kids to, if there's not a husband or the grandmother doesn't live there or grandfather or whatever, they take the kids too. Now, they don't take that mother and the kids and move them to the same jail cell, They take the mother and they bring her to central booking or wherever they take her. And they take the children and they put them in, child protective services, or they put them in foster care, or do whatever they have to do. The mother then goes to court, does whatever she has to do. If she has to spend any time in jail, she spends time in jail. And when she gets out, they don't just go, okay, here's your kids. Now they have to prove that they are fit to have these children and all that other stuff. And you hear about women or fathers or whoever fighting all the time in court to get their children back. So that's how it would normally work from what I guess from just average American citizens. And the same thing would happen if that same person got pulled over in a car, right? If you get pulled over in a car, you got a kid in a baby seat, and they check the car and they find drugs, or you were doing something that 30 miles over the speed limit where it requires you to be arrested or whatever. They take the kid into custody along with you, and they don't put you guys in the same place. They put the kid one place, they put the parent in the other, and then the same thing happens after court and all that other stuff. You fight to get your kids back, and then you get it back. All right. So if you're breaking the law, now I'm not going to argue what the law is. The law, as it states, is that it's illegal to come into the United States in any other way other than actual set-up border crossings. Now, set-up border crossings, you can come to those border crossings. I don't know how many there are, but I hear that there's a bunch. And you can, claim that you want asylum for whatever reason. You do the paperwork. You probably have to sit around a lot. You probably have to, whatever. And then, you could, I don't know if you can get through legally or how that works, but that's the proper way to do it. Or you stay in your country and you fill out the proper paperwork and you do all requests and all that other stuff. And sooner down the line, you get approved to come into this country, or you don't, right? If you do it any other way than that, it's considered illegal. It means that you are breaking the law. And it's not breaking the law of a border town. It's not like, well, Arizona's laws are different than California's laws, are different than, Texas's laws. These are federal laws. These federal laws say that the whole entire country says you can't come here illegally. You're just not allowed to do it. All right. So knowing that you're not allowed to do it, and you do it anyway, and you get caught, you're breaking a federal law. Right off the bat, you're breaking a law. Now, there's people that will argue, no borders, and we're all human beings, and there shouldn't be any borders, and all that other stuff. That's no, here nor there. That's not what this discussion is about, because I could agree or disagree depending on the argument on how that all works, right? So let's just say that the laws are that you can't come into this country illegally. So knowing that you are doing that, and I think that everybody who comes across the desert and does all that other stuff are fine human beings. There's no debate on, well, they're all drug addicts or drug dealers or they're all rapists. They're all fine, upstanding, outstanding human beings. They're trying to make a better way for themselves and for their family. They're making their way across the desert. It's a very, very dangerous undertaking, but they want to come and they want to do that for the betterment of their family. Okay, great. So now they get to the country and breaking the law, they get caught. They get caught breaking the law. So now they take the mother or father or mother and father and they take them off to jail. And then they take the children off to child protective services, or they take them off to foster care, or they take them somewhere else. And for the duration of time that the parents are in their jail cell or doing whatever, the kids are, I would assume that they're being taken care of by people and being fed and clothed and, whatever, and making sure that they're okay. Then when the parents are done doing whatever they have to do, now these kids, whether it was, a month, 6 months, 8 months, a year of the parents going through their legal mumbo jumbo, they now have to go get their kids back. You know what I mean? So there's more court proceedings and more stuff that goes on. And are you fit to have your kids? So if you found somebody breaking the law, let's say go back to the family that, the mother's in a house, you got crystal meth in a house, whatever, and they arrest the mother and all that other stuff. Knowing that you were arrested for having crystal meth in your house, and that is a danger to a child, you now have to prove to the courts that you no longer have that danger to a child in that household. Makes perfect sense. We don't want to put a kid back in a house if the well-being of the children aren't being maintained, right? So the same thing could be said here. If you are a parent and you take a child and you take them on a hundreds of miles trek through the desert and all that other stuff with minimum water, horrible terrain, not enough food that you can carry on your back, all of that other stuff, wouldn't you say that that's a danger to children? Like, children shouldn't be, have to succumb to that kind of thing, have to be treated that way. So you can make the argument that maybe, they're making decisions that probably aren't best for the kid or kids. So now you have them in a jail cell, or you have the parents in a jail cell. After the jail cell, they get done with the trial and all that other stuff. And now they have to prove that they're not going to be a danger to these kids anymore. They're not going to put them in these crazy circumstances and all that other stuff. Is the system perfect? No, the system isn't perfect. But what are the alternatives? The alternatives are that you take this mother and her kids, or the mother and father and the kids, you take this family and you go and you put them all in jail together, right? So now the mother and father that are going to an adult jail, now you're taking these kids and bringing those kids to an adult jail. So I would assume that the cry throughout the land would be greatly worse if you were putting kids who are innocent and who didn't do anything and didn't have any choice on trekking across a country to illegally come into another country. It wasn't their decision. So now they're spending any duration of time in jail, in an adult jail, until all this stuff can get hashed out. That's way worse and way more traumatizing on a kid in that scenario than taking the kids and putting them somewhere where they're safer, more well taken care of, and all that other stuff. So then you say, okay, well, if you're not going to take the kids, you're not going to put them in an adult jail because that's just bonkers. There's no real reason to do that. Well, why don't you build detention facilities that are family friendly? It's not an adult jail. It's not a foster care. It's a holding facility for where a mother and her kids can go while they await the court process, while they await all this other stuff, so they can all be together. Well, that sounds fine and dandy, but it's going to, one, cost a lot of money, and two, if you're not going to give the same consideration to American citizens, going back to that person that was caught with crystal meth in their house and saying, listen, we're going to take you to jail, but we're not going to take you to regular jail. We're going to take you to the family detention center to where you and your kids can stay there and you can live there and all be together until we can get you to court. And while you're there, it's kid friendly and all that other stuff. If you're not going to do that for the citizens of the United States, wouldn't it be a little bit weird to do that for non-citizens of the United States, just to cater to them and their needs? And if you're going to do both, then now you're looking at a whole new thing, where citizens can now, have, now a woman has a baby in jail. She doesn't keep it. It's not like, okay, well, you got a baby, so, the baby's going to be in jail with you, because the baby didn't do anything wrong. There's no reason why the baby should be incarcerated, should be locked up. So nobody would stand for that. So now you say, okay, well, where does the baby go? The baby goes to foster care and gets, taken care of by another family or whatever. So now you would have to say, if your theory was that we're going to build detention centers, family detention centers for illegals that are coming over the border, and then you're going to build family detention centers for American citizens that also, Jesus, goddamn camera just fell. Woo wee, scared the daylights out of me. Let me see if I can fix this real quick. Holy smokes, that was scary stuff right there. All right. See, that should be better, right? All right. Anyway, so if you're going to have detention centers for those people that are coming over illegally, and you're going to have detention centers for American citizens, let me fix that a little bit. I don't like the way that angle is. Make sure this thing's on there well. And you're going to have detention centers for American citizens. Well, now that means that if a woman is in prison and she has a baby in prison, that wouldn't it be right to move her from a prison to one of these detention centers? So now, people who don't want to be in jail anymore and rather be in a family detention center, they just would have to get pregnant, and then they can get moved to this detention center. So there's a lot of it that goes into, it's not as simple as just saying like, well, just build detention centers. What is some of the part that is being failed to be realized is that it all stems from an illegal action. Once an illegal action takes place, this is the repercussion of an illegal action. If illegal action wasn't taking place to begin with, then this wouldn't happen. So you can't make the argument and say, well, we shouldn't have borders at all. Well, that's a whole nother argument, because we do. And you can't say, well, the law is stupid. Well, that's a whole nother argument, because it is the law. And the United States had made that law. So if you think it's stupid, then vote for people that would see things the same way you do, or run for office and then change stuff, or do whatever. But just standing on the side of the road with a picket sign and yelling and screaming and causing fights and arguments and all that other stuff isn't going to change really any of this, any of these things, And like I said, I just don't have a good understanding of it, because it seems like it all makes 100% sense to me. It, take all the politics out of it, take all of that other stuff, and just try to use common sense and just what the law actually says. And it seems to make a lot of sense to me. It seems to have a good understanding that if you break a law, whether it's in your car, whether it's in your home, whether it's you coming across the border, whatever, no matter what it is, depending on the severity of the crime, if it's a federal law, if it's a misdemeanor, if it's a whatever, then you're going to be separated from your children. That's just what's going to happen, So it makes great sense that that's going to be something that happens. I don't understand the argument, to tell you the truth. I really don't. You don't want to be separated from your kids? Go to one of the checkpoints where you can claim asylum and do the proper steps and do the proper paperwork and do all that other stuff, and the country will probably welcome you in with open arms. We have, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, millions. I don't know how many immigrants come in every year. I'm the son of an immigrant from Ireland. She came here from Ireland. She came here legally and everything. So, I mean, there's plenty of ways to go about the system to make the system work for you. And if we're going to have rules and laws for everybody, then even people that are illegal to the country will still have to abide by those rules. If you don't agree with them, then don't break the law, and these things won't happen. And I would like to have the understanding that in these detention facilities, that the children are being treated well. I've seen videos where they say, oh, the babies are put in cages and they're not being fed and not being clothed and all that other stuff. And I just don't see, in a country as great as ours, why that would actually be true. I mean, we've always, tried to treat people that come into the country with dignity and respect and all that other stuff, and especially children. We've always had a solid heart for children and how they are taken care of. So I would like to say that, or would like to believe that some of these things that are being said about the kids that aren't true, on how they're being treated and all that other stuff. So like I said, is if you see this in a different angle, or you see a different point about this subject, comment below, because I would love to have a dialect, or love to have another point of view. Just the way I see it right now is you break the law and these are the consequences, and it doesn't seem like there's any other way to fix it other than not to break the law, because detention facilities being built for all of these different aspects of breaking the law are just not a realistic option right now. It costs way too much money, too much logistics involved, and it doesn't seem like something that's going to be feasible to do.